8:30, so it's my pleasure to declare this meeting of the Audit and Risk Committee open. And I've been asked to remind members that this meeting is being live streamed, so would you please use your microphones. So let's commence the meeting with the which is on the screen, so we'll all say it together. Kia ora, thank you. Firstly, we have an apology from Councillor Nathan Waddle. So are there any other apologies for lateness or early departure? There being none, I'll move that we accept the apology of Councillor Nathan Waddle. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, carried. I'd like to welcome to his first Audit and Risk Committee, Mr Clint Ramu from Audit New Zealand. He is the Director from Audit New Zealand that has been assigned to the audit of Porirua City. So a very warm welcome, Clint, to your first meeting, and we look forward to many more. This morning we've had a request for a speech as part of the public forum. So I welcome Mr Brian Warburton up to the table. And just to remind you, Mr Warburton, that you have 5 minutes to speak, including questions. Sounds very formal, I know, but a bell will ring at the 4-minute mark and again at the 5-minute mark. Members of the committee can ask questions of clarification only and cannot debate with the speaker. Speakers should take note of the restrictions and standing orders, including the matters which are subject to separate hearing processes and not be discussed, and that a speaker cannot speak on an issue that they have previously spoken about. So thank you, Mr Warburton. The floor is yours.
I'm Brian Warburton. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about RMA compliance issues 2025 to 26 and for me to set the record straight. I'll commence with an overview followed by some personal observations. I ask that this presentation be accepted into the official record of this meeting and recorded as such in the minutes. At the 19th of June 25 meeting, the Audit and Risk Committee, I pointed out that overflow events at the wastewater pumping station at Rukatani Point in the April 24 to March 25 period resulted in at least 12 events when untreated wastewater was unlawfully discharged to the coastal environment. There have been 8 more overflows between April to September 2025. The key points of my overview are: in Porirua, all such unconsented discharges breach obligations under the RMA Section 15, and by default such discharges are unlawful. Greater Wellington has confirmed that overflows from PS 35 are unconsented and therefore a non-compliance and an offence under Section 338 of the RMA. Council's legislative compliance surveys and reports have failed to report such breaches. Excuse me, there is no rational reason why instances of unlawful discharges from pump stations should be excluded from the compliance report. A layperson reviewing the council compliance report might incorrectly assume that the council is completely compliant in terms of its obligations under Section 15 of the RMA. At the June 25 A&R committee meeting, there was a suggestion from staff that the disjunct created by differing interpretations of the committee's governance role could be addressed offline. Regardless of any offline commitment, incomplete compliance report has continued, with there being no such mention of the 8 overflow discharges in the April 25 to March 26 compliance reports. With nothing to suggest otherwise, it seems as though nothing has been done to remedy the inadequate and inaccurate compliance reporting. Perhaps offline has become a handy synonym for inertia or obfuscation. My observations. In advising Felicity Caird and Councillor Philo in the 19th of June 25 meeting, Mr Tusher addresses all the non-compliances associated with the pump stations across the city. And I've got some extracts from the transcript there. But I guess the most telling one is that Jim refers to, yep, it talks about all of them, all of the pump stations he's referring to. But it doesn't actually talk about any. It talks about the wastewater treatment plant. In 2025, Councillor Philo understood that this was difficult to reconcile. But at the beginning of the current triennium, Mayor Baker excluded Councillor Philo from this committee. I challenge any member of this committee and any staff member and or the press for that matter to find any cross-reference to all the pumps across the city in the report that Jim relies upon. In his report, Jim cites a compliance report recording and addressing functioning and operation of the treatment plant with reference to the current resource consent. The subject of the report is explicit. It says, discharges to air and to the coastal marine area from the operation of the treatment plant. The words overflow and pump station are not used in the report. It is a report authored by GW about a consented activity, so that's hardly surprising. It's not a compliance report relating to the wastewater network, so network pump stations are obviously excluded. Other correspondence suggests that Mayor Baker and Ms Walker are uncertain about the scope of the GW report. Council staff consider the issue to be highly complicated. I see it as quite simple. Pump Station 35 is part of the unconsented, unlawful wastewater network. Pump Station 35 is not legislatively connected to the treatment plant. The treatment plant is consented. The wastewater network, which includes the pump station at Rukatani Point, is not consented, and discharges from it are unlawful. Council staff and committee members are culpable in terms of Section 338 of the RMA. All in all, I see the Council's position in respect of the unlawful overflow issues to be like somebody saying, I haven't got a warrant of fitness for my car, therefore I'm allowed to have bald tyres. I presume Te Akiwai will now be running these three water public committee meetings. I can't say that transferring responsibility from compliance monitoring to this committee, from this committee to Te Akiwai won't be a good outcome. It should be better able to manage this issue. Thank you for your time.
Are there any questions of clarification of Mr Warburton? Councillor Lawler.
Yes, thank you. I'm new to this, so still trying to get my head around it. You talked about a connection, Pump Station 35 not legally connected. Is that what you said? I'm trying to understand what that means. Sorry, maybe I misheard.
No other questions? Thank you very much, Mr Warburton. Right, I'd like to move to agenda item number 4, conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to be declared for today's agenda? All right, I see none being indicated. Just to remind you all of the importance of keeping those conflicts of interest declarations up to date. We have no items of extraordinary business that we have had notification of. Agenda item 5. Agenda item 6. We're asked to confirm the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on Thursday, the 26th of February. I move that we confirm the minutes as a true and accurate record of that meeting. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lawler. Are there any items that need clarification, correction in those minutes? All right, I now put the motion which has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, carried. Right, agenda item 7, Health and Safety Quarterly Report. I will move that we receive this report, Health and Safety, for the quarter ending 31st of March 2026. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Mayor. It is now open for discussion. Who's going to talk briefly to the report that we have in our papers? Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. For the start of this year, there's certainly been a notable decrease of incidents, in particular injury-related and near-miss incidents, down by 73. Pain and discomfort was slightly higher this quarter. There has, however, been a seasonal increase in wasp stings. In this reporting period, there was only one breathing issue from the PCA Swim Club. Since the last audit and risk meeting, there has been a second series of air quality monitoring tests completed, and the report showed that all readings were well within industry standards. The report has been sent to the PCA Swim Club. With the threatening behaviour issues, we do continue to review and develop processes to support and protect staff and our customers. There have been a number of initiatives implemented since the last meeting, additional security measures for elected members, our threatening behaviour guidelines has been updated, the licence plate recognition camera is now in action, a centralised method of flagging properties where there have been dangerous encounters has been developed, and our security procedures review has been completed. I'm heading to a meeting straight after this to get the results and hear their recommendations.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, thanks for this report. It's great. On page 16, Council made a very generous offer to PCA to go through a review, and they turned the offer down. Did they explain why they would turn that down?
So they opted to use a colleague to do the review instead of an external provider.
Okay.
They thought that would be adequate.
Really? Okay. Well, then I think that's a dead issue now, surely, that we've covered that pretty well. That's just a comment on my part. Second question, page 21, a person wearing jandals at the tip face, that wasn't a staff member, was it?
No,
Okay.
no, that wasn't.
So in the report, it just puts name withheld. It would be helpful, actually, if we knew whether that was staff or not. Yeah.
I think, was that under the, I think that's with our external contractors.
Yep.
So none of those are staff when it comes to the contractors section of the report. So I'll have a think about, so we just share the information they provide directly to you as they provide it. But I'll have a think about some wording up front.
Yep, that would be great. And my final one, page 22, 23, 24 for waste management. All those items are just another day on the roads in New Zealand, surely. That took ages to read through that, and I thought, this is waffle. Do we really need those? I mean, what next when a bug hits the windscreen? They're going to have to notify us they put a windscreen wipers on or something. Yeah, I just think that was a bridge too far. But thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Perhaps that comment can be considered for future reporting. So,
Absolutely.
yep. Councillor Lawler, I think you were next.
Thank you. The only thing I would say about the near misses is it helps if people know they have to record near misses. It makes them more aware when they're driving. That's I think, yeah. My question is around page 14. 13, 14, around threatening behaviour, because this is so important for us to track and prevent where we can. I think it's also important that we're really clear about our definitions. So I'm trying to understand at the bottom of page 2, we talk about threatening behaviour by customers in the form of vaping. not following rules and physical altercations. Well, physical altercations are extremely serious, but I'm trying to understand why not following rules, at what point that becomes threatening behaviour and at what point it becomes someone being a bit of a dick on council property. I'm just trying to work out what the difference is.
Yeah, and I think so. I'm sort of fairly new in this role, and I've been looking at this information, I think, in the same way as well, and whether there's a way that we can separate those out and report on them differently. So I'm hoping that in the next financial year, we're going to actually review that particular thing and separate them out and have them as two different things. Yeah.
I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, can I just add to that? On the last line of that, I read that totally differently. It said the threatening behaviour directed at or by customers was in the form of vaping, not following rules. So
That's right, that's right. So anytime that they aren't following rules in a space, it's deemed as threatening, as in, yeah, and it could be anything from running around the pool to vaping in the wrong place.
Can I speak to that just briefly? There are certain instances where we do need people to follow the rules. The swimming pool is one of those, for example. That is a space where we do have a lot of threats from people. Even kids just jumping in the water, they can be quite threatening to the lifeguard. So the not following the rules and the physical altercations and that threatening often is part of the same package.
Couple of observations that I'd like to draw attention to. I think that it was very pleasing to see a reduction in antisocial behaviour situation was down this quarter. So let's hope that continues on like that. And the other one was on page 25, where we had a total nil return on TRIFR, LTIFR and MTIFR. So there were completely no instances in a 9-month period. So, that seemed sort of unusual. So perhaps that was from, is that from Downers?
Yeah, it was.
So, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. As I think you're aware, this has been an ongoing struggle with our road and contractor. We have just entered a new arrangement with the owner, so we are looking to up the ante with respect to reporting on nemesis. Their problem is actually a systems one. It's not that they don't actually have quite good their ability to separate out Porirua's information, but I'd rather they gave us the whole lot than just didn't do anything. So it's a work in progress for us.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Councillor Leggett.
Yes. Thank you for the report. The observation I make, like the annualised data and like the trends generally, which I always look towards the annualised data, the trend. So the trends are pretty positive, and I wonder whether there's the ability to get trend information from our contractors as well. Over the years, because I think those things are important. We agonise about monthly stuff, but yeah, it comes and goes. And so that's, I just wanted to make that comment. And then the question that I have is, is there anything in there that concerns you that should concern us?
This report, as I say, there's been a decrease, which is a great thing. And I think the threatening behaviour is the thing that concerns me the most, but we're doing a lot. We're doing a lot in that space, covering lots of different areas. So I think we're doing what we can.
Councillor Trelin.
Yeah, just further to that actually, so obviously I'm really happy with the direction we're going in around managing threatening behaviour with our parking stuff. We've talked a lot about that recently. Would you be able to touch on, in terms of what we're doing outside of that, what specific actions are being taken? And I'd also be interested in knowing, are we expecting that the rollout of the new licence plate technology in time for the next Audit and Risk Committee meeting, we'll hopefully have a clear indication of the impact by then? Sorry, that's a statement, but I think you know the question I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah, so we will have some data by then. So I believe it started last week, the camera. So by the next meeting, we'll definitely have some information and I can report back on that for you. Absolutely. Other things outside of that, so the threatening behaviour guidelines, so that's supporting staff, that's some guidelines for staff on how to act. Threatening behaviour training, we're always running this and trying to get people through it. And that's all sorts of people, because there's people on the phone, there's people in the streets, there's people in front of house, all dealing with these sorts of things. The other thing was that centralised method of flagging properties. So all sorts of different areas of council are going to properties or out on the street. So by having this where they can put in a property, I'm about to go to such and such, a little notification can pop up, which will say, for whatever reason, it'll be pretty high level. But if they need any more information, they can come to Health and Safety to get information. But just saying this needs to be 2 up, so there needs to be 2 people, or there needs to be police with you if you're attending that address. So there are multiple things that do cover a broad range of staff in their day-to-day.
That's really positive, and it looks like things are beginning to trend in the right direction, even if we're not there yet. So I thank you very much for that.
Mike, I think you were indicating you had a comment to add to Councillor Leggett's question.
I just wanted to make the point that the most dangerous place in New Zealand is actually in the road corridor, both in, on and above the road. That's every day someone dies on our roads. So that's the thing that keeps me awake at night is working in, on and under the road. And you probably noticed the substation across the road's on fire right now. so it's not actually in the road, but it is on the road reserve. So cables under the road, pipes, slips, road accidents and power lines above the road are the things that bug me the most. And that's why there's probably an abundance of reporting that you might think is kind of maybe not relevant, but that's why we do that, because it's we think that's where we're most likely to have a fatality.
Thank you, Mike. Any further questions on health and safety?
Through you, Chair, can I just add a further response to Councillor Trillin's question around what we're doing? The other thing we are doing is reviewing our animal control team's health and safety. So that's front of my mind after the parking team, is the animal control team are also exposed a lot to threatening behaviour, and we are doing a health check on whether we're doing enough, doing all the right things, whether there's more we can do for that team. As pressure on our communities increases, we see that play out in responses to our officers. So we're starting that independent review shortly too.
Thank you for that. Always good discussion on health and safety report. Really, really important part of our process here at Audit and Risk, and a really important part of the process in the council administration. So thank you, Sandra, for your report and your answers to the questions today. So it's been moved and seconded that we receive this report. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, carried. Agenda item 7.2, the long-term plan. We've been asked to receive this report, so I will move that we receive this report. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Trillin. Moved and seconded. Now open for discussion. Just take the report as read and sort of either update it or highlight points that you feel that we should be aware of. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. This report is just about the delivery approach to the LTP, the risks, and the significant planning assumptions which will evolve throughout the process.
Thank you for that. Councillor Laura, I think you had a question.
I just have a question about in the timeline, Phase 1A, early engagement. It says May, we're in May. I'm just wondering, I know that that's not a public push out. I'm trying to work out how would groups like residents associations, do they expect to be part of that? And if so, will they be contacted?
Through you, Chair, yes, we will be doing an email out today, actually, as the engagement opens. And we've already dropped off boxes and paper service to all the libraries.
All right, no further questions. My observation here, excellent early start. Also, long-term planning is always a very important process. Great to see it's so well planned out and started early. And we probably always say this, but a really difficult environment in which to be doing a long-term plan. You know, it's going to be minus the water assets, which will be some relief, but still a tricky sort of process. So I'm sure you will report back to this committee over the next 9 months or so as you progress this, and we will look forward to that update, but wish you well in the process.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded that we receive this report. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. Agenda item 7.3, Audit New Zealand audit plan for the year ending June 26. So we've been asked to receive the report and agree to accept the proposed audit plan and fees for the year ending June 26 as outlined by Audit New Zealand. So I will move that we receive the report and agree to accept the audit plan and fees for the year ending June 26 as outlined. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconded, Councillor Leggett. Right, Peter and Ian have joined us at the table, so we will ask you to talk briefly to this, and then we'll ask Clint from Audit New Zealand just to address any particular points. Thank you.
Point of order. Is it Audit New Zealand?
Sorry.
It's now the Audit Office, isn't it?
Well, it says in our papers Audit New Zealand, but technically, Councillor Duncan, as always, you are right. Audit New Zealand has changed its name in the last couple of weeks to the Audit Office. So well, let's use the terms interchangeably. So in this transition period, thank you, Councillor Duncan. Peter, over to you.
Through the chair. So our new auditors, Audit New Zealand, we'll use that term, have provided the audit plan for this year. Even though they're new auditors, it's largely similar focus areas to what we have previously had. They're focusing on our largest balance sheet items, being our assets, revaluations, and our largest profit and revenue items being rates. So, and the fee paper is also attached, but I'll leave Clint to do further updates on those.
All right, thank you, Peter. Clint, just highlight any points that perhaps are an update since you prepared this paper. Anything you think we should be sort of aware of in considering the audit plan and fee letter?
Thank you, Chair. Kia ora koutou. Chair, I'll take the paper as read. I think the 2 points I want to raise with the committee this morning is around the valuations of the 3 water assets. So our approach to that is that we're working collectively with the other councils in the region. There's one valuer in place. We have one team on our side that's engaging with the valuer for all 5 councils that's involved in the valuation. We're hoping to get some efficiencies, also look to reduce some of our work in that area, and also limit the engagement that we have with the valuers, rather than 5 auditors asking the same question, we have in one. So, and that process has already kick-started. On the second item, in terms of the transfer of the water assets to Tiakiwai, we've also taken a regional approach to that, and Wellington City Council's leading some of the technical papers and getting the technical advice. We've received that advice in draft In April, we've just this week have landed on our position around the accounting advice that has been received by the councils, again, as a collective. I can say here is that in principle, we agree with the advice, so we're expecting to see that applied consistently across the councils. Those were the two main items. As regards the fee, it's always a tricky matter to talk about fees in your first meeting, but I'll do that. So as you see, it's a 4.9% increase. 3% of that relates primarily to the base fee, if you like, and the other is driven off what we call our overhead charge for the office. That is driven off the number of hours that we have for the audit. So there's a fixed rate for it. So that's slightly higher than the 3% that we would be looking to apply. We've kept the fee, if you like, the increase to a minimum. We're conscious of the stresses that the sector is under at the moment. So that was all taken into account. And we've also set a 1-year fee. Previously, it used to be a 3-year fee. We've set a 1-year fee because the landscape is changing, and next year we'll have a totally different balance sheet, if you like. That's it from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint, and thanks again, Peter. Open for discussions, questions. Councillor Duncan.
Thanks very much, Clint. And that's very generous of you, keeping the increase to a minimum. 4.9, is that negotiable, though?
Chair, everything is up for negotiation through you, Chair. I certainly will look at the overhead charge portion. I think that the base fee of 3% is probably the lowest we can go in the current environment. But certainly can look at the overhead charge, and we can extract it. I'm sure Ian is going to take, and Peter will take me behind closed doors and discuss
This is being recorded.
Yeah, look, I love it. And you were saying, like, in your paper that you don't have the resources of the international companies, but you still charge the same.
Chair, I think you're trying to conflate the two. While we don't have the resources of the international companies, we do have the expertise in the local government sector, and we also have network of auditors across the country that we tap in to that bring that expertise. So I think, it's a balance in.
Sure.
Councillor Duncan, perhaps I could add something that may help in that regard. Under the old terminology, where there was a split between Audit New Zealand and the Office of the Auditor General, the Office of the Auditor General is the auditor under legislation of all government-owned entities. And they had a role where they determined the fees and the level of increases across all of their providers, whether it was Audit New Zealand or the international firms. So there was no sort of difference in sort of hourly rates, if you like, between Audit New Zealand and the firms. And I think that that's a situation that still exists, if I'm not wrong, Clint.
Correct, Chair. There's a moderation process that takes place.
That's great. In our next paper, we're told that Deloitte was chosen after a competitive procurement process. We don't get that opportunity with this, do we?
No, the legislation says who the auditor is, and the Auditor General then decides, who undertakes the audit on his or her behalf. And, really just to reiterate the reason that the Auditor General put for the change in audit provider here at Porirua City was so that there was consistency amongst the TRKY partners in audit provider.
So what gets me, I mean, it's an eye-watering amount of money. That's about $17 for every ratepayer before we even start looking at not a single pothole's filled. No leaks are fixed, nothing at all. It's just an over-the-top cost, and it just seems to me a hell of a price to pay. That's just my comment. Thanks.
I think it was interesting, and that is noted, Councillor Duncan, and I think it's interesting to note Clint's point that the fee is only set for this year, which includes the water assets. Next year it'll be set to not include the water assets. Councillor Leggett.
Just reflecting on Councillor Duncan and the 4.9% increase and what you've said, Clint, can I just reinforce that council that puts pressure on council's rates this year. So I would strongly suggest that our executive team go back and negotiate with you in terms of the 4.9% with the objective of reducing it.
Thank you, Councillor Leggett. If we can leave that to the finance team and the capable hands to work with Audit New Zealand on that request. Felicity.
Thanks. I won't talk about the fees because I think there's a lot of value in the audit, but I am interested, Clint, in your views following the restructure of Audit New Zealand and OAG to the Audit Office. Are there any changes in the approach or areas of focus or efficiencies, effectiveness that you would expect to come out of that as the new appointed auditor for the council?
Through your chair, thanks, Felicity. I think that the first change for us is, in terms to the chair's point around grouping the audits around regions or sectors. We're looking to enhance and build on that expertise so that we can then take learnings from different agencies and apply it consistently across the practices. We do that to an extent, but it can also differ. I think the other big efficiency for us is also the way the office is now arranged around some of the technical issues that we deal with when it comes to the LTPs or technical matters relating. There was a process that it was internally dealt with at Audit New Zealand, then goes off to the Office of the Auditor General if it had wider sector impacts. That's been removed to a large extent. We're working seamlessly now as one. We've broken down those walls. So with that, it's an improved delivery to clients and faster turnaround time on some of the issues. And then the third thing, I suppose, from us is also with the office is one office now is understanding better the risks for the Auditor General and making sure that that gets reflected in the way we do things. So reassessing our risk appetite on some of these items rather than doing it, if you like, distinctly as it has been in the past. So I see a great deal of efficiency in terms of delivery to clients. There's also the people aspect. With all our audits, we're making sure that we develop and provide them with the right opportunities. So it's smaller, it's more regionalized within the delivery function. So again, benefit the way we execute some of our audits.
Thank you, Clint. And I think sort of one of the benefits that we're seeing is that sort of collective work. So you've got one team looking at the valuations of the water infrastructure across the 5 entities and any sort of accounting treatments that are going to arise from that. So, Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, sorry. On page 53, the audit approach, or our audit process, the item number 6, gather audit evidence, it's got an error there. The reference, should there be some reference there that we should be able to access?
Sorry, through your chair, yep, that is a typo. We'll fix that up, but there is a electronic reference if you click on the link, which should be there.
Yep. Thanks for that. And my final one, you're going to be privy to a lot of our information about ratepayers. How strong is your cybersecurity compared to ours?
Chair, we take cybersecurity absolutely seriously in our organization. So, for example, we have access and share documentation through a portal that complies with the government standards around cybersecurity. It is reviewed annually, and we're having to get certification. So that's just around our portal, and then also along with our audit software as well. It's all ensure that all of these things are compliant, because you're absolutely right. We do have access to a lot of information.
Excellent question. Thank you for your answer to that, Clint. Any further questions? Any further comments from the finance team? Happy to pick up those couple of challenges that were issued in the discussion. All right, so it's been moved and seconded that we receive this report and agree to accept the plan and the fees for the year June 26. All those in favour?
Point of order, is it? So I'm not sure whether we agreed to accept the fees. There's been a reference.
Okay.
There's been a reference to going back and negotiating the 4.9% for next year. Well, we're not agreeing. Am I right or wrong here, people?
Councillor Leggett, I think that you are right. So if we can accept the plan, and if we amend the motion, that further discussions be held in relation to the fee and the final fee reported back to this committee. Everybody happy with that slight amendment to the second part of the motion? Can we have a seconder for that? Councillor Duncan is seconding that. So it's been moved and seconded that the second part of the motion has been amended. Do we have all in favour? Please say aye. Any contrary? So that's carried. Thank you, Councillor Leggett. Right, agenda item 7.5, the legislative compliance. Sorry? Oh, so, sorry, yeah.
I don't think. Sorry.
Thank you,
point
team.
Of order, Chair.
7.4.
As a point of order, sorry, could I just clarify the process we went through there? I think we just voted on the amendment. Do we now need to vote on the substantive motion that has been amended separately, or was that? Yeah, so I think we've agreed to amend the substantive motion.
Okay.
So I think we just need one more vote to pass the amended motion.
Thank you, Councillor Trilin. So let's be clear. We are now voting that we receive the audit plan and fees letter for the audit plan report and the amended wording that the fee be further negotiated and reported back to this committee. So all those in favour of that, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, carried. Thank you, Councillor Tiranan. I appreciate the assistance with tidying that up and getting the process right. So thank you. Right. Okay, so we can now move to agenda item 7.4, which is the internal audit report on sensitive expenditure. Felicity, welcome to the table, and if I can ask you to introduce the Deloitte's team who've done this work for us. So while you're coming to the table, I will move the motion that we receive the report from Deloitte's on the sensitive expenditure. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Mayor. It's been moved and seconded. I'll pass it to you, Felicity. Phyllis, sorry. Looking at Phyllis to talk briefly to this paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the annual independent review of sensitive expenditure, and I have with me David Sinkins, partner from Deloitte, as well as Meena Patel, who did the work for us. So they will go over the highlights of the report. Just a comment from internal audit's perspective, we are really pleased with the improvement noted in Deloitte's report this year. And we will continue to work with management to continually improve on our processes around sensitive expenditure. So through the chair, if I may invite David and Mina to...
Thank you, Phyllis, and welcome David and Mina from Deloitte's to this presentation. Thank you for your work. Take your report as read.
Absolutely.
So in the interests of time, any sort of highlights or matters that you wish to draw to our attention. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of highlights. So on page 60, we'd just like to reference or note paragraph 2, where it talks about does represent 1% of or less than 1% of council expenditure, but paragraph 4 notes the importance of got to withstand public scrutiny. So these reviews are actually quite important. The report is rated overall as effective, and that's kind of based on it was a follow-up review based on the review we did last year. We did similar amount of testing and we came up with some findings. So there are 4 findings which are reported on in Table 8, 2 moderate and 2 low, which management have accepted and currently working on. The key thing to probably go back to is paragraph 7, where if you look at the findings, effectively we will say these are they're not too similar to other organisations. So if we step back, there's been a marked improvement compared to the first report. You've made good progress. We're happy with the results from the audit. So happy to take any questions regarding the detail of the report.
Thank you very much, David. Agree with you. This is a really important part of Council's operation, and it's very comforting to know that you've come back in for a second time and had a look at it and report on significant sort of improvements. So, the job's not done. It's always needs to have attention paid to it, and I'm sure it will be, but it's good to know that we've sort of rectified any issues that were there and we've got a solid base to move forward on. Any Councillor Philo?
So I have a few questions. They're probably more so for staff or officers rather than Deloitte's, but my first question is on page 71. One international flight did not demonstrate evidence of the CE's approval, and it was observed that the flight was arranged for the recruitment of a senior officer in the resource consent and monitoring team. So my question is, can you clarify whether it's normal practice for council to pay for overseas interview travel costs when recruiting instead of hiring locally, and what was the justification in this case?
Thank you, Chief Executive.
It's unusual, but not unheard of, and we would only do it for positions where it's difficult to recruit, and the applicant who does not live here currently has to have a pretty good CV to get across that bar. So consenting, resource management generally, we do struggle in that space. So Nick can talk more specifically about this role.
And through the chair, further to that, Councillor Philo, it's a real struggle to get senior level compliance officers, and we had already got to a good place where we felt confident of that person, but we wanted to meet them in person. The amount that we flew them was offset by taking that off their actual recruitment when we put it in place. So we took off the amount that the flight cost to their recruitment. So it ended up cost neutral.
Sorry, can I just clarify, when you say that it came off the recruitment cost, does that mean the cost that you would have had to have paid, that you had to pay to the recruitment company that you went through rather than like off any cost to the individual?
Sorry, there was no recruitment company utilised. We will pay some relocatable costs for some positions for people to come to Porirua if they're coming from a different location. And in this case, we took the interview cost off what would be a relocatable cost. So we didn't pay twice for that person to come to New Zealand from Australia once they were recruited. Does that clarify that question for you?
I've got a couple more questions, if that's okay, Chair.
Sure.
My second question is, it's on page 74, and it was about the conferences. So my understanding is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but that as an organisation, we do cover accommodation and meals for conferences and for work travel, but that it doesn't generally cover personal alcohol costs. So can someone please just clarify whether that my understanding is correct, and if so, why the costs were covered in this instance?
We don't cover alcohol costs, and I don't know why it happened in this instance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My last question.
Phyllis, have you got some clarification on that?
Yeah, our travel policy is clear that we will not cover personal alcohol consumption during travel, and so if we do find that staff have accidentally include that within their receipts and reimbursements, we do ask them to pay them back, and that's what's happened in every instance if we find that we have made claims that are not in line with our policy. So
Thanks,
yes,
Phyllis.
the policy is clear, no alcohol for travel.
Thanks for clarifying that, Phyllis. Is it okay to ask my last question?
Yes, please.
Thanks. I was just on page 75, implement the OCR receipt scanning functionality. I was just wondering if someone could please just expand a bit more about what that is.
Effectively, it's an app or a thing on your phone where basically you have a receipt and you scan it, and then effectively it will go straight into the system. So instead of someone having a piece of paper or a manual receipt and hand it over to someone to enter the information, the OCR, you kind of just scan it.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So just so I'm clear, staff can have access to this app, and when they have a receipt, open up the app, and it will scan the receipt and go to the relevant finance department, and they've got a record of the receipt.
To you, Chair.
Thanks, Phyllis.
I think what we were looking at is, I think the issue or the problem that we are facing is where sometimes staff would attach the incorrect receipt to the transactions within Flexi Purchase. So it's a manual process. You got all your transactions like in your credit card, and it says you went here, etc., for this amount. And so we asked for staff to attach their receipts within that. So sometimes there can be human error around attaching the wrong thing or recording the wrong amount between your receipts and what's in the system. So the OCR, which is like a text recognition, would read your receipt for you and kind of remove that human error so that the dollar amount and what's in the system matches up, and that's basically to take away the human error from putting in the wrong receipts towards the transactions. Hopefully that clarifies.
Yeah, that sounds like good technology. Okay, thank you. Yes, that's all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Philo. Any further questions? Councillor Lawler?
Just a question about our own process. So we review sensitive expenditure using external consultants annually. Is that our current process?
Yes, that is our current process.
Councillor Duncan.
Actually, if Chair, through you, Chair, if I might add to that question. The reason we use external consultants is because me as internal audit, in this area, I'm actually conflicted because I do own and have management functions for some of these, including the policy and improvement processes. So I can't actually audit this area because this would be effectively auditing myself. Hence, this is one area that we outsource. We've gone through a competitive process, as we've mentioned.
Councillor Duncan.
It's page 78, severance pay out of scope. I wondered why that was out of scope.
Severance pay, I think, is more of a HR process rather than an incentive expenditure purchases. So, for various reasons, we wouldn't want to be, auditing that process, which is quite sensitive.
All right. Further questions? Yeah. Just checking, Councillor Philo, you've still got your hand raised, but have you got further questions or? No. Okay, thank you. All right, no further questions. Phyllis and David Amina, thank you very much for this work. It's very important and as I said earlier, very pleasing that we found it in better shape this year than previously. So thank you for that. So we've been asked to receive this report on sensitive expenditure. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, it's carried. Right, now 7.5, legislative compliance. We've been asked to receive this report, so I will move that we receive the report on legislative compliance, seconded by Councillor Duncan. So, Phyllis, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is our 6-monthly management attestation of legislative compliance. And it is again encouraging to note that we have identified non-compliances. That's always a good thing, and that there are management actions to address them appropriately. I am working with management to continue to address and make sure that we close off the open non-compliances, especially around the health and safety areas within the report. So happy to take any questions about this.
Thank you, Phyllis. Any questions on the legislative compliance? Just to remind members of the committee that this is a 6-monthly process where many members of the staff team are asked to respond to this survey. It's always very pleasing to note that here, excuse me, there's a high level of involvement, if you like, from the team in this. And it's a really good way of highlighting any concerns around legislation. Councillor Lawler.
Thank you. I'm just wondering whether officers could respond to the questions around monitoring discharge from the treatment plant. I can see Spicer landfill there under the RMA, but I can't see any reference to sewer or stormwater discharge. I'm just wondering, is that because there have been no breaches in 6 months?
Mike?
Through you, Chair. That's correct, Councillor, for the reporting period here. There have been no breaches, but as you're aware, there have been breaches in other periods. Yep.
And if I might add to that, within the closed areas, you would see that we have previously reported, and that's in the report itself on page 86 on previous matters raised. So that is reference previous discharges that we have reported not in the last round.
Thank you. I'm just trying to find that. Okay, so that's...
In the middle of that tape.
Yes, under RMA. Discharge contaminants, that's, oh yes, Te Akiwai, okay. So these are a period at a time. Do we end up with trend information annually? Do we get a sense of, at the end of the year, do we get a full year report?
No, we not at this stage. We do report at a point in time. Yeah.
But Councillor Lawler, as you see in those tables, anything that's found in a point in time review each 6 months is included in that, is accumulated until it's been cleared. Yeah. Councillor Duncan?
Yes, on page 83, results of the survey, item 3, key areas of non-compliance, the health and safety, working with hazardous substances. I was interested to know what that actually was involving.
The detail of that is on the next page, and that's actually us improving. They've identified a way to improve our processes, and we've noted it as a partial compliance. And so that's looking at vaccination and just making sure that our staff are safe as they work with hazardous substance. So I think we have a plan around how and more training provided staff around how they handle these materials. So there wasn't actually an incident, it's just we identified better ways more ways to protect our staff, and we are doing that.
No further questions. Just recommend this process to council. It's very effective, as I say, very well supported by the team here, and does highlight issues that require looking at, and it's good to hear, Phyllis, that it does drive change and improvement in processes. So that's all the objectives of this. All right, so it's been moved and seconded that we receive this report. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, carried. Agenda item 7.6. Phyllis, stay in the chair. So this is the risk and assurance update and the plan for the 26-27 year. So we've been asked to receive the report and approve the risk and assurance plan for 2026-27. I'm happy to move in that regard. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Leggett. Phyllis.
Thank you, Chair.
Talk through this paper, please.
Chair. In terms of the risk and assurance plan for the current year, 2005-2006, I'll take it as read, but suffice to say the plan is progressing on track, and happy to take any questions around if you have questions around how the progress of the work in this area. In terms of management actions, this committee has asked for a little bit more information in the last round about the age of findings, and I've included a trend line, and that's actually showing that we have quite a good cadence of raising issues and addressing issues, so there are no overly overdue items. All items are relatively current, with the oldest being just over a year old, 13 months old. And we are tracking this. So I'm satisfied that management are actioning recommendations. Also within your paper and asking you for your approval is the plan for next year. Within this, I'm proposing three areas to look at. One is around workplace safety, and this is around just making sure that the controls that we are relying on, that we've heard about every week, and are working as intended, and going over the assurance framework that we have over health and safety. We will be working really closely with the health and safety team, Sandra, as well as with other independent assurances that are happening, so that we could look at the full picture of assurance that's coming up to the audit committee. The second area of focus that I'm proposing in the audit plan is to look at contract management practices. And this is again ensuring that we are managing our contracts effectively. So last year we did procurement, and this year we're looking at how well, once we procured, we are managing to the contract, and that includes making sure that we get the outcomes and benefits from the procurement that we've done. And again, sensitive expenditure will always be on the agenda to ensure that we give assurance that to the community that we are meeting expectations in terms of probity. So these are the three areas of focus for internal audit. Within the paper, there's an assurance map as such that kind of indicates the other areas of assurance that we've considered and for future years. I welcome any feedback from council on any reprioritization or anything that you would prefer to bring forward if you would like to do that. So thank you, Chair. That's.
Thank you, Phyllis. That's always a really excellent piece of work. Certainly my observation is perhaps in that assurance map, that following the really good work that was done last week with the strategic risk workshop, a linking of that work and what came out of that into the assurance plan for the future could be really helpful to see how that assurance program, if you like, ties with that risk work. So, but a tidy piece of work. Open for discussion. Councillor Torlin.
Thank you very much. You had a question around the AI risk framework. So on 7A, it talks about the council AI policy that's been approved by ELT, and in the attachment we have around AI, I'm looking at page 95, it talks about how Tier 1 unacceptable risk cases are fundamentally incompatible with the council's AI principles. My question is, are the principles and the policy the same thing, or do they overlap? And would you be able to speak to us a little bit about what the policy involves? And I wonder if maybe a copy of that policy could be provided to councillors.
Through you, Chair. The principles are within the policy. So it states what is our approach towards it. We are preparing all of these controls in expectation of rolling out AI. We are moving a bit slower than some other councils, and personally I think that's a good thing because we are preparing the controls and the foundation, so to speak, to be able to do AI safely within the organisation. We are doing training. In addition to this framework, we have the policy, the oversight group, the training that's being rolled out. So there's a lot of bits and pieces that we're trying to get right before we, throw AI doors open. And from assurance point of view, I think that's actually a good thing. Jim.
Through the chair, yes, you'll be subject to our training very shortly, and we've got that lined up. We've got an external party that's doing that, and we'll be able to give you some insights to what's happening around the motu as well. Yep. Sorry. Chair, there's a question.
Thank you, Jim. I think the Mayor was next, and then Councillor
It was a
Leggett.
very quick follow-up, similar to Councillor Trellan. It's great, but are we following other councils in the region, or are we gone off by ourselves and doing a separate one? So once again, we're all on different AI systems.
When it comes to AI, I think they're all using the same systems, but it's not one system that over time people will use. There's different systems for different purposes. So at the moment, we're starting with one AI system, but there's others that are specialised. For example, ones for recording meetings and so forth. So the intention is to add to the list of technologies as we progress the rollout. So we're not dissimilar to the other councils. I think one area that we may be a little bit more, I'd like to think we're more advanced in, is that we are using a secure version of AI in our. It's sort of walled off from the rest of the world, so you can explore documents, all your council documents and so forth, and it's not learning from that. The AI system is not learning from that information that we develop. So I don't want to go into the technicalities, but basically, if you go into ChatGPT today and ask questions of our document management system and so forth, it's possible that will get out into the wider domain where you've got sensitive information that you're dealing with. You don't want that to happen. So we've sort of put it's in our Microsoft Cloud. There's a specific instance for the generic AI or ChatGPT, for example, which is walled off from the rest of the internet. So that's a little different, and that's a learning that I think some of the other councils are starting to take from us, and that they've seen a lot of traffic going out from their systems, as opposed to if you're researching, it would be coming in. Mm-hmm. Right?
Okay,
Does that
thank
make
you.
sense?
Yeah, thank
Yep.
you. And good report, Phyllis. I'm happy with the direction. It's great. Thank you.
Councillor Leggett was next, and then Councillor Trillin.
Just a point of clarity around 17 proposed internal audit reviews, and one of them is sensitive expenditure. Will that be carried out by an external party?
Yes, it will be. Not necessarily Deloitte, as their contract term has ended.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Trillin.
Yeah, sorry, just clarify. So one of my questions before that wasn't answered was, could a copy of the AI policy be circulated to councillors?
Yes, we'll do that.
Cool, thank you very much. And further to that, the key thing I'm interested in particular is obviously early stages of AI. We know that there's lots of stories and evidence around things like AI hallucinations and things like that. If there's information that comes to councillors, does the policy require that anything we see that AI has been involved in would be flagged as such? Because I'd quite like to know if I'm getting advice that AI has been involved in developing. So if I could just check to see whether or not that's covered by the policy.
Through the chair, I'll try and answer that. So one of the things that we, it's within the training that we're rolling out, and I think it's also in the principles, but the way to treat AI is not a substitute for your own brain, right? So the intent is that what reports you receive are fully they're developed. The party that's presenting that information to you is fully accountable for the clarity and the accuracy of that information. If there is a report that's like, for example, a sense report from an engagement survey where we've said, sometimes you get so many responses, it would be absolutely declared that this would be using AI. That's what the public sector does. But our expectation is that this is no substitute for doing your own research. It is a tool to help you. The day that we start to rely on AI to produce your reports, then with no human oversight, is a concern. So to your point of hallucination, I mean, I've tried ChatGPT, it hallucinates on me all the time. It's the questions I ask it, clearly. But, so yes, the answer is we're going to be managing that quite strictly.
Okay, cool. And I guess the other thing, and we can get into this more if we have a workshop around it, but the particular area of concern I have is what safeguards we have in place. And the reason I ask that is that there are plenty of stories bubbling out of AI hallucinations popping up in places where you would expect there would be rigorous controls against that in court cases and things like that. And I'm thinking, well, if top-level lawyers are using this stuff, chances are some officers and councils are probably going to be doing it as well. So but we don't have to get into the detail now, but I'd really like to understand what those safeguards look like around preserving the quality of information that councillors are receiving. And I guess that it's being used by the organisation generally.
Through the chair, I think we'll take this into the workshop, the training. I think that's a good question, yeah.
Lots of hands up now. It's so, Phyllis, you're going to...
Yeah, if I could just reassure Councillor Trillin, within part of our principles is accountability and transparency. So that's one of the core things within it. And when you see our policy, and that's making sure that we maintain public trust, and we are very transparent when we use AI. So we expect a disclosure if they are AI generated stuff, or if the public is, for example, interacting with a chatbot, they know that this is not a real person. It will be disclosed that this is an AI. So transparency and accountability both being part of the principles within our policy.
That's really good to hear. Thank you very much.
Sounds like the workshop's going to be very interesting and informative. So, Councillor Lawler.
Yes, a couple of questions probably for the AI workshop. I'm aware now of towns largely across the states, but probably in other jurisdictions, that are refusing AI hubs because of the amount of energy and water they require to generate. So I wonder whether over time that might become part of our tracking of the environmental footprint. I'm wondering where that would fit, or does it fit in procurement policy? Because they have a very real impact in the places that they generate their AI capability.
Through the chair, it's quite problematic. I mean, every time you do a Google search now, it's using AI. And so it's using 20 times the power than it used to do. And we can't control that. So I know it's a massive impact in the US on power, and there's power spikes as a consequence of that. I don't think this council has much control over that. I'm happy for my CIO to take this discussion further in the workshop, if you wish.
Can we just concentrate that we're dealing with the audit plan here and sort of matters in relation to AI, which came up as part of this paper, perhaps be left to the workshop?
Absolutely. My second question does not relate to AI, you'll be pleased to know.
Thank you.
The risk and assurance plan for 26-27, I'm just wondering the nature of the budget that supports that.
That's me.
I'll talk to this, Chair.
Thanks, Jim.
Phyllis is a very adaptable, flexible person, and we have one audit person in our team, and that's Phyllis. The only audit that we're doing at the moment externally, I think, if I'm right, Phyllis, is the sensitive expenditure policy. So everything that you've got sitting in this diagram here relies on our ability to manage the workload through Phyllis and support from staff and management.
Thank you for that. Felicity.
Just sort of picking up on that in terms of the work plan for the 26-27 year, given that the outcome of the sensitive expenditure review that's just happened was effective, I just wondered about the sequencing of priority for where the real risk lies. So I was pleased to see contract management in there, but it's like the last in the line. And I just wondered what consideration you've given or would give to perhaps, I hate to say it like this, but shifting sensitive expenditure out a bit. It costs more if things aren't that broken. I know it's really important and you need, the committee needs assurance, but...
Yeah.
I would be unhappy to not do sensitive expenditure. It's a critical part of our control environment, so I wouldn't want a year to pass without doing that, because we always do uncover something. So I get what you're talking about, the contract management. So we can certainly have a look at rejigging things, so that's given some priority in there.
Yeah, I wasn't
notwithstanding we have one person who will be doing this.
I wasn't suggesting not doing sensitive expenditure, but I was just wondering about the interval and other priorities. So, yeah, happy to leave it with you.
Through the chair, can I just add to that the fact that we've got a review going on around contract management in that last period. We're actually doing some work now to certainly looking, it's off the back of our procurement reviews, but digging into, there's a lot of work going on at the moment to get our contracts, the use of the right contracts, templates and all those things being undertaken. So that's been a focus for the last probably 6 months. And so that's being progressed right now. So in a way, it'd be good to be able to sort of review that around this timing, in my view. But anyway, thank you.
Phyllis.
And just as well, in terms of timing of sensitive expenditure, when we do it, we do like to do it in time for our external auditors to see the results as well, which is why we tend to do it in January, March kind of area, in time for them to consider it as part of their interim audit. So in as much as possible, and this is not something that we've discussed with our new auditors yet, the level of reliance that we can place on, the external auditors can place on that would be good. In any case, they do look at it as part of the internal control environment for the organisation.
Clint.
Sorry, Chair. I just wanted to say, conscious that there's just one person in the internal audit role. The one area that I just noticed it's on the plan, but I'm not sure when work has been done on this, is around the KPI measures and what's the controls and systems around that, because, that's quite visible to the public, and what assurance does council get that the systems and controls are in place. So I see there's reliance on first and second line, but I'm not sure if that ever gets picked up in the internal auditor program, so that you have that independent assurance as well, other than the external audit.
Thank you, Clint. I'm sure that will be noted and worked through with you. All right, Phyllis, your report generated a lot of really good discussion, so that's always an indication of the quality of the paper and the plans. So if there's no further questions or discussions, it's been moved and seconded that we receive the report and also approve the risk and assurance plan for 26-27. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, carried. Right, agenda item 7.7, Three Waters asset transfer update paper. There's quite a few things we're asked to do here. Receive the report, agree to recommend that council endorses the transfer, note that the figure derived for the draft asset valuations is still subject to change, and note the transfer asset and debt values will be used calculating the value of each council's shareholding. So I will move in that regard. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ian, for this paper. It's the other side of the coin to a paper that we had at the last meeting in relation to the transfer of the debt. And as I think it says somewhere in the paper, or you indicated, that this was probably a more difficult job than the debt. So a very good paper, may I say. So perhaps just highlight a few points before we open it up for discussion.
Thank you, Chair, and you have summarised it very well. The asset issue is a much more complicated and complex issue than the debt issue. Debt is very formulaic. We know we can track it. We've got annual report information that guides us in the calculation of the debt. Assets has been a much tougher journey. I'd like to just also point out I've got Lynn here and Megan, two people who have been absolutely instrumental in this journey to understand more about the assets that we will be transferring. The first point is well made. It's an enormous number. So $1.3 to $1.4 billion. I doubt whether there will be another transaction like it that will face council. So hence the importance of bringing this to the Audit and Risk Committee, making sure that there is full transparency and the ability to ask questions and so on. So we felt it was really important to do this. And also obviously a companion paper to the debt paper that you've already seen. Maybe if we just talk about the process and where we found some of the issues that we have contended with. So all councils are doing the same thing. That's an important note to make. We've all been given an LTQ, a legal transfer question to complete. All councils are following the same process. And for certain assets, it's been very, very clear that these are water assets. Now, obviously, pipes under the ground, wastewater, stormwater, freshwater, that's a pretty obvious asset to transfer to Te Ākiwai. Where it gets less obvious is around things like land. And we've been instructed to use, the term primary purpose in determining whether something should transfer or not. What is the primary purpose of that land? And then you kind of drop down into, well, if it's a mixed purpose of that land, and take, for instance, a reservoir sitting on, a piece of land, but there's walkways and, so on. So there's a mixed use. What is the predominant purpose of that land? And so we've had a huge team looking at these land parcels for a long time. Transport people, parks people, our own property people, strategic property people. Great kudos to the team that Megan has been working with to try and resolve some of these primary purpose, predominant purpose type of questions around land. I think where we're at in the process is we have submitted the LTQ to Te Ake Wai. They have reviewed it and come back to us with some more questions and conversations around in, out, easements, licences and so on. This is actually a work stream which we're not finished. And actually by 31 May, which is scarily just around the corner, we have to effectively commit to our first estimate for all of these numbers, debt and assets. So 31st of May is our first calculation of shareholding value, which comes out of the asset and debt conversation. But then we've got the audit of the final accounts annual report, which will be October, and we get a second chance to tidy up the numbers. And then there's most recently the provision for another wash-up, which is at least another year down the track. Because let's be honest, some of these land issues, particularly if there's reserves or, it will take time to resolve, to understand, to get definitive decisions made about transfer or not transfer. So there is a process that we're all following. All of the councils are following the same process. No one's being advantaged or disadvantaged here. I will just point out a couple of issues around the valuation of Three Waters. So you'll see I've included a couple of tables there, one which shows what's happened to our valuation for the Three Water networks, plural. We only had ours valued 17 months earlier, and now we've had a new valuation prepared by a new valuer on a consistent basis with all the other councils. The values have gone up 41%. In 17 months. And this kind of continues a theme that we've seen for the last 4 or 5 years. Our values of water assets have dramatically increased. We are seeing that in the levels of depreciation that we have to expense through our profit and loss, it's quite a scary increase. But it does show the value of having a consistent valuer across all councils. So the decision that we made to all the other councils were using a particular provider, we weren't. So we've moved to that. So a consistent approach. It's paying dividends. Probably not the right word, but there's advantages here. I could talk about this forever because assets excite me, numbers excite me, but perhaps I just open up for questions. Is there anything else I should be pointing out, Lynn? No.
Thank you.
Megan? No. Right.
Thank you, Ian. Lynn and Megan, welcome to Audit and Risk Committee. Great to have you here to help answer any questions. So I think Councillor Fila, you had your hand up first, so over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 3 questions again. The first one is on, I think it's page 108, point 47, where it talks about the the transfer of the work in progress, and you list the various projects. What I'm wondering is why wasn't Rukutane Point Pumps work included in that list?
Through you, Chair. It actually is in the list. It's actually quite a long list in the work in progress space, but I've just picked out the largest by dollar value and highlighted them in that particular paragraph. But capital works on Rakatane is included in the work in progress that would transfer across to Te Akiwai.
Okay, so it is in there.
Yes.
It's not as high as like maybe the
I think
least
we've had
amount
some
that you
planning
put.
costs in recent times, Mike.
Yeah. So the work in progress is just the money that's been expended to date. Yes. It's not the future capital spend, councillor. So the WIP is just what's been accrued so far. Yeah, that's why it doesn't show up.
Thanks for clarifying that. Next question is on, sorry, I don't know which page. It was towards the end, but it was about the depreciation reserves and how they're in negative 40 mil. So, Anne, would you mind just confirming, is that point, I think it was, I want to say 0.52, but I'm probably not. Okay, 51.
Yep.
Is that saying that basically that 40 mil of debt is going to be transferred to the water entity?
Through your chair, yes. It's so reserves aren't normally negative, and I recall a number of conversations and questions about this previously. But we have a scenario in Porirua where we created these reserves, and I noticed Graham's here. Was it about 6 or 7 years ago, something like that? 2016 we created these reserves. So they would have started with a zero balance in 2016. The fact that it's negative means that we have been spending more on renewals than we've actually been putting into the reserve to fund those renewals. It's normally the other way around. You put your money in, and then out of that fund or reserve, you pay for your renewals. So it just is what it is. It results from the decisions that we as a council have made historically to really invest in renewals and so on. What the impact is for this particular piece of work is that if you think most councils will have a positive number, therefore it's considered to be an asset. For us, it's a negative number, so actually it will be like debt in that it will it smells like debt, so it is debt, even though for other councils it is an asset. Does that help?
Okay, so it is being transferred as debt.
Effectively,
to Te
yes.
Akiwai.
Yes.
Okay, and so do you know if any other councils in the region, are they transferring positive reserves?
I believe so. I'm not aware of any other councils that have a negative reserve amount to transfer.
Okay. Sorry, last question is point 48, where it talks about development contributions and those being transferred over. Reading that point, I just wondered if someone could clarify around like the future water reserve, the reserve tanks that are going to be coming up in the new developments. Is that included in this point 48?
Through you, Chair. So, yes, development contributions where they have been collected historically for future delivery of assets, and I think that's the basis of your question. If developers have made a contribution to reservoirs that will be built in the future, is that?
I'm talking about the one that's listed in our long-term plan.
Yeah. So
Yeah, through the chair, it hasn't been constructed yet. Very early stages, so we wouldn't, and we haven't collected DCs at this point. Correct, Ian?
Yeah.
So they're not showing up on our box.
So if we haven't collected anything, there's nothing to transfer. But if we have collected something for a future obligation that will rest with Te Ake Wai, we will transfer it. So I guess it depends. Mr. Bailey, who's in that particular space within the officer concerned, is reviewing all of the amount that's sitting on our balance sheet as far as, is it money we've received, but the obligation still exists, in which case we have to transfer that money. So that work's being undertaken at the moment.
So I've understood you right. The money that or funds that have been already collected, that will be transferred, and any other future DCs related to water in the future will go directly to Te Ake Wai.
The hesitation is around the word directly. You are right, but we will be invoicing in the short term, is my understanding, and then passing the money over. So it's a little bit indirect, but you're right. The money will rest with Te Ake Wai in the end.
Thanks very much. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor. I think Councillor Trelin, did you have your hand up? And Councillor Duncan, running a list here. So Councillor Trelin.
Thanks very much. Yeah, my question just in relation to the process we're going through around the transfer of land. And I, based on the discussions we've had, this report, the workshop we had previously, I've got a high degree of confidence that we're going through a really robust process, and it's good to hear that that process is consistent across other councils. What I'm interested in is whether we have a clear view of, yes, the process is consistent across councils, but is the process being carried out consistently across councils? And the reason I ask for that is there's obviously a high degree of discretion that we're having to exercise around what the primary purpose of a piece of land is. We're having to make line calls on that. And so what I'm interested in is, do we have a clear overview of the nature of the decision making that other councils within the Te Ake Wai region are making? And is anyone involved in the work in Porirua City Council across all of the work in the region?
Love the delegation.
So we do have the transfer principles that have been agreed by all the councils, and that sets out the expectations as to what will transfer and what will not transfer. I understand Greater Wellington Regional Council, there's some exceptions there that they are retaining land. There is also in the transfer agreement a clause that Te Ake Wai can review land that has not transferred at a future date. So if they believe that it should have transferred because the primary purpose is water, then that can be reassessed at a later stage. So we're not going to get it 100% right across the region. We have had the opportunity to look at the other transfer schedules, but they are a bunch of land parcels. So unless you know the information behind the land parcels, it's not something that we could meaningfully review.
That's good to hear in terms of the ability for Te Ake Wai to review that later. Does that work both ways? If we transfer land that Te Ake Wai later determines actually this isn't the primary purpose, will they transfer that back?
I think there's provision for that, but Te Ake Wai and Wellington Water have been reviewing the land that we are looking to transfer, so they have done a lot of analysis over that already.
Okay.
So I think they're probably pretty comfortable with what we are transferring, and
Sorry,
Megan's been having those conversations.
Yes, so those, there are two wash-up periods in this, so one at 12 months and one at 24 months, and they are the catch-all of, oops, we didn't transfer this and we should have, and equally, oh, sorry, we've given you something that we shouldn't have. And so that is the process. You've got two cracks at it over a kind of 24-month period of time.
Okay, cool. That's really good to hear. You specifically highlighted some land that GW isn't transferring. Could you speak a little bit further to
that? Greater Wellington has been consistent throughout this process that they do not want to and will not transfer their water catchment land because it serves a number of purposes, including biodiversity and amenities and amenity values. So probably we're not all happy with it, but it is what it is. And given the pathway of reform, it may become something of a moot point anyway. So they're the outlier in this whole process.
Okay, that's useful to know. My last question on this is, what happens in the future when the primary purpose of land changes? And so what I'm thinking in particular of, we have a program, we've talked a lot about as a council of how we believe there are more areas across the city that need wetlands, for example. Now, if you take what is currently a park that is a primary purpose recreation, and we change that into a wetland, which would primarily then be a stormwater asset that has a recreation value, what would happen to that land? Is there a process that we would have to go through, and is that clearly set out in the information we have currently?
Through the chair, very good question. I'm not aware, but there is a lot in the transfer agreement. I would have to go back and have a look and see if there is something for future changes in land purpose.
That sounds good. Well, and the thing is, right, is that if we're doing wetlands in the future, but it's, and this is why I'm asking, if we're thinking that a wetland needs to be developed, or Te Ake Wai is, but the current land use is primary recreation because it's a park, I'm really interested in how that works. And I'm assuming we're going to be having a proactive engagement and a really good relationship with Te Ake Wai anyway. But yeah, I guess I'm just interested how we manage that from a land ownership perspective. But it sounds like that'll be an ongoing conversation. So.
Yeah, sorry, through the chair. Yeah, there are no, from what I've read and seen and had the conversations, there are no provisions in the future. But Te Ake Wai, when we're thinking about wetlands, we wouldn't be building a wetland, I don't believe, without Te Ake Wai being involved in that from the very get-go, because the primary purpose would be water. So therefore they would be in there. So I think there's nothing in there that I have seen yet, but we can go back and confirm that. But I think it is a relationship. I mean, they're still our child in lots of ways in terms of that. So, yeah.
Excellent. I think Councillor Duncan was next up.
Yeah.
And then Felicity.
Josh has covered a lot of it for me. It actually raised the question for me, how do we handle Aotea Lagoon then? That carries a huge stormwater part to its facility, but also Greater Wellington must have a link with that as well, must they? I don't know.
I could take that if you like, through the chair. So Aotea Lagoon is remaining with us. So Aotea Lagoon, we've created, it's a natural formation, but we have obviously created a motorway and a concrete basin in it. So Te Ake Wai take the stormwater pipes that go into the lagoon from the catchment areas, and then NZTA actually have the pipe that, I actually need to, I think we actually own the pipe that goes from the lagoon to the harbour, but we need to do some stuff with that. Essentially, we hold the lagoon. We've got the lagoon. It does have stormwater, but yeah.
And my last question was with the water asset values. So was it the early numbers that Te Ake Wai were working off to actually work out what they could afford and what, how it would work for them? And has this made a huge difference to what it's going to,
Through you, Chair, that's a very good question. So we are constantly working, Graham and I, updating models and things. Well, sorry, we're not updating models. We're providing information to the people in the Te Ake Wai establishment team who are running these models. They will have access to these new draft values. Now, remembering what Clint said in the earlier conversation around consistency across the top and so on. Yes, the earlier model, they're always developing and changing and being refined. They are continuing to change and be refined. And it's just a case of us providing the best numbers that we can possibly do, and they keep updating and pushing the button, and out come new numbers. So it's a numbers game, but we're keeping them up to date as much as we possibly can.
Just through the chair, I mean, it's important to understand also that the ODRC, the optimised depreciated replacement cost, also includes new investment that's occurred since 2024. And I don't know, it includes the tank, right? Ian?
Not
yet.
Not
yet,
yet,
those numbers. So,
Yep.
Okay, if you take the tank out, it's a sizable portion of the. I think. Can I just add the level of increase here is going to obviously be subject to audit, and it's really pleasing to hear that it's all being done at a regional level. It's one of the big risks for our audit, so getting that done accurately and also timely is really important to us to get a final audit report. Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Felicity.
Excellent paper on a really complex matter. Commend you on that. I just had a question around the abandoned assets section. So I wasn't sure whether to be concerned for the council or not with this, and I wondered about the level of risk and potential future liability for the council because it says you've got significant discussions and no agreement yet. If Te Aki Wai doesn't want to take them, how do you feel about this aspect, I guess is my question.
Can we defer to Mike, perhaps? Sure, okay.
There's a lot of work to be done before 30 June. With abandoned assets, I think we don't have the information at the moment to make the decisions that are needed as to where the assets land. That's part of the issue, and the classifications that were used by the councils were different, so these abandoned assets are in different states. So we're not aware of there will be risks, but we're not aware of risks at the moment, like significant risks. And I think it comes down to having that information, which is why we're looking at this process of having a review, bringing the right people together to work through the abandoned assets and then assess where they belong. Mike wants to say anything?
Short answer is yes, we're a little bit worried about this. We don't know what we don't know in some cases, and also we're not rating for abandoned assets. So as Megan and Lynn will tell you, there's work to be done. Other councils are in the same boat, so watching it very, very closely.
Thank you. Councillor Leggett.
I'll just be quick. I just wanted to, having been involved in asset transfers before in companies on a much smaller scale, I just wanted to commend the work that's been done by everyone here. It's just amazing. I'm blown away by the detail and what you back it up with. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Councillor Leggett. I think that's a sort of strongly held view around the table. I certainly personally agree with that. So any further questions, discussion? Excellent paper, Ian, Lynn and Megan. Thank you. Plenty of work still to do, obviously. Wish you well with that. And I'm sure at our next meeting we'll have a sort of final sort of wrap up to what has been achieved. So thank you. So it's been moved that we receive this report. We agree to recommend that Council endorse the transfer of the assets. We note that the figure derived from the asset valuations is subject to finalisation and change. And we also have been asked to note that the transfer asset and debt values will be used in calculating the initial value of each council's shareholding. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, carried. Thank you for that. Right, agenda item 7.8, the S&P Credit Ratings. Ian, I think you can stay at the table, and Graham, welcome. We've been asked to receive this report, so I'll move in that regard, seconded by Councillor Trelin. over to you, Ian and Graham, briefly to sort of cover this report off.
Sure. This is just a very, very simple paper, really. It's good news. And we all need a bit of good news every now and then, don't we? So A+ stable is what we were. A+ credit watch with positive implications. Now, the first time I read that, and I said, credit watch? What? But it's with positive implications. So in other words, in 3 months' time, they think we're looking good. They'll come back in 3 months' time and just, after the Te Ake Wai transfer and after we've published our annual plan, if we stick to the building blocks, then they're they have indicated that there is a possibility that they could upgrade our A+ to a better rating, which is fantastic news. And so it was late breaking. We slipped it into the agenda. And so, that's my summary.
Thank you, Ian. Fantastic news, a reflection of some excellent work done consistently by the team. Any further comments, questions on this? Mayor.
I'll just make a comment because it's really good news, and it is the team and the council together, so it just proves we're working really well. So thank you, staff.
Here. All right. It's been moved and seconded that we receive this report. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, carried. Agenda item 7.9 is the Treasury Investment and Liability Management report. We've been asked to receive this report and agree to recommend that Council grant an exemption for the breach of the Treasury policy funding risk profile until November 2026. So I'll move in that regard. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Duncan. The paper is there, similar. We were aware of the breach at the last meeting. So Graham, anything further that we need to be drawn to our attention?
Not really, Chair. It's explanatory, and there's also a memo from PwC which backs the strategy which Council has been following until we transfer the debt to Te Ake Wai. And it's because of that, and we will tidy all this up post the transfer of the debt to Te Ake Wai and bring back to Audit and Risk an updated Treasury policy so it's fit for purpose for going forward. So it's a technical matter, and we're asking Council in advance in terms of anything which happens. This was expected to happen in the month of April, but we'll sort of know where it's actually at shortly, I suppose, for the monthly April account. So we're just trying to be front-footed on this matter. It's quite complex. There's a lot of moving parts, and keeping Council informed.
Thank you, Graham. I think the important thing here, as Graham indicated, this is a timing issue. It rectifies itself post-transfer. So, any further questions, discussions on that? All right. It's been moved and seconded that we receive the report and recommend that Council grant an exemption. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, carried.
This is the new resolution to replace
Sorry to.
We're going to go into public excluded now.
Yeah. I thought before we did that, we just asked to extend without a break. Right, we're just about to go into public excluded, but I thought I should just check. We're getting very close to 2 hours. Are people comfortable to proceed on without a break? You've got an 11 o'clock meeting. I'm aware of that. So I move that the meeting sit longer than 2 hours without a break. Do I have a seconder? Mayor, thank you. Moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, carried. All right. So I'll move that. I move that the meeting go into public excluded to consider the following reports: the cyber security update for May 2026, and the provision for shareholder support to Te Aki Wai. And that Nick Davies from Martin Jenkins be permitted to enter the meeting for item 8.2, the provision of the shareholder support. And we would also add to that Clint from Audit New Zealand to remain for this discussion. So do I have a seconder to that motion? Thank you, Councillor Trelin. Moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, carried.